back to my channel, The Transparent Homeschool. My name is Beth. I'm going to be doing something super different today in this video. It's just going to be me sharing my birth story. A little, like, kind of reason why. Usually I share homeschool content on my channel, nothing else, like about my family or anything like that, but currently we are 5.5 months pregnant with our 5th baby. And so I just kind of wanted to share, because I'm going to say this in the beginning of all of the videos that I make after this that deal with pregnancy, but there's so much stuff out there right now. Movies, TV shows, people's birth stories, all of the exposure that we have as pregnant moms, most of it is negative. It's all negative. Like, you watch these movies of these mothers going into labor, in a hospital, and they're screaming their heads off. They're in so much pain. Like, I can't do this. There's so much pain, 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 pain. So what do you think? What do you think we associate childbirth with? Pain. But that's not how it has to be. Now, what I wanted to do is just take the next couple videos and just share with you my birth stories. So we have 5 children. One's in here still. One is with the Lord, and then we have 3 with us. And so I'm just going to kind of quickly share their birth stories and my miscarriage experience with you guys, because again, openness, communication, that's how things should be. I don't know why we don't talk about it more often, but it's just, it brings people together and creates community. And so I'm going to talk about all of that in the next couple videos on my channel, and then kind of where to go from here with this baby. So with my son, he is 9 years old, and I was 25 when we got pregnant. And that was about 2 years after we had gotten married. And so the only experience that we have had with childbirth, we had a friend who had 4 kids at that time. She had hospital births with all of her children, epidurals with all of them, very quick labors, and that was one person. And then the other one was my sister. She had given birth about, I don't know, like 10 months before my son was born. And so her story was a lot different. She had planned to have a vaginal birth the few days before her baby was born. She went to the doctor. Everything was fine. Baby's head was down, in position. The day her water broke, they went to the hospital. Contractions stopped. My niece had turned back over and was breached. So she had a C-section, and that's how my niece was born. And so I just remember thinking, like, those are your 2 options. And so my husband and I had been through the childbirth classes. We had gone to all of the, the hospital events that they had about the childbirth education. And so I thought I was prepared. I thought we were ready to go. So, they were talking about, like, pain management, like all the different kinds of pain management that they can do. You don't just rush to the epidural and all of this stuff. And it blew my mind. It opened my eyes to a whole new world of childbirth. And so I threw out my birth plan that I had, and I wrote an entirely new one about, a natural birth, no all this stuff. Well, I had it typed. I had it in my folder. I had all my stuff there. And I just remember the day that my son was born. And so one of the things that we learned in our childbirth class was that if you go into labor, you don't eat, because of the fact that they might have to rush you into emergency C-section and all of that stuff. Well, my water broke first, and it was very noticeable, like, because I got up to go to the bathroom and it just shot out. So I woke up my husband. I was like, hey, my water just broke. First-time parents, we didn't know what to do. We called the hospital, and they were like, have you had any contractions? I said, well, no, but my water just broke. And they were like, well, in that case, you need to come in. And you have 24 hours from the time that your water breaks to get your baby out, because there becomes like an increased risk of infection and all of that stuff. We got our hospital bag. It was all packed. I was so proud of myself. And my husband was like, well, I'm really hungry. This was at like, I don't know, like 4 o'clock in the morning. So he was like, I mean, it was still dark outside, and he was like, I'm super hungry, like, we need to stop for breakfast. And I was like, well, I can't eat anything because, I can't eat once my water breaks and I start going into labor. And so he ate. We stopped at McDonald's. I remember this. We stopped at McDonald's and he got this, what was it? I think it was like a biscuit or something, and it smelled so good. But I was good. I didn't eat anything. Well, we got to the hospital, went into triage. They confirmed my water had broken and got me all registered, all of that. We went into our labor and delivery room, and I sat there. I sat on a bed, hooked up to all the monitors. Baby was doing fine, all of that. And then I was just like, I'm hungry too. And the nurse was like, well, we can just do chicken broth, or like you can do like a popsicle or things like that. But they hooked me up to an IV and all of this stuff. And I just remember being miserable. I was so hungry, and my contractions were like, I was still in early labor. I know I was, because I was still like, I was playing Candy Crush through my contractions. So hours go by. I mean, hours. We're talking maybe 4 or 5 hours go by. They're a little bit more consistent. They're not too intense. I'm still talking through. Candy Crush was boring, so I put my phone away. And my husband and I were watching a movie on the TV in the hospital. And I remember the doctor came in, checked me, and I was only like 2 or 3 centimeters dilated. And so no pain, things like that. Well, like 2 or 3 more hours go by, and I had no contractions. They stopped. So he checked me. I was only 4 centimeters dilated. Contractions stopped. He said, well, why don't you like start walking around the floor and take your IV with you? Because I had, my fluids and all of that stuff. And we'll see if we can get these contractions started. They got me a birthing ball. I did some like bounces. They didn't help me. They didn't direct me on like any positions to do or anything like that. So my husband and I took a walk around the labor floor about 3 times. And I was like, I'm tired. Like, I'm cold. Just want to go back into my room. So we went in there. No progress. Another hour. And they were like, we have to start your labor, or else, like, we're going to have to think of some other things. So they pumped me with Pitocin. Who knows about Pitocin? Raise your hand. It's awful. So what Pitocin does is it synthetically jumpstarts your contractions. And so as a normal natural birth, the contractions build on each other because it's just your body getting ready, right? Well, my body stopped. And so they gave me Pitocin, and it was like, natural childbirth. You go from 0 to like a 1 or a 2, and then you kind of build. It was like from like a 1 to like a 7 within 30 minutes. They gave me the Pitocin in my IV. I was in bed, I remember. We were watching Jurassic Park. I don't remember why, but we were watching Jurassic Park. And I remember we were about 20 minutes in and I was laughing, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember what happened. Because I was in so much pain, and I had no idea what was going on. I was in so much pain that I was gone. I was in here. When you start into that active labor stage, you become inward and very like self-centered so that you can get prepared for this. Well, I do remember getting into the tub, and that really helped. I had the jacuzzi jets like pounding on my back, and I just remember my husband watching the rest of Jurassic Park and a whole nother movie before our son was born. And I remember screaming out I needed an epidural. Mind you, I had my birth plan that said no medicine. My husband understood no medicine. No pain medicine. Nothing. Well, I was in so much pain that I couldn't do it. That's what I was told from the movies, from this and from that. And then now experiencing this, like, I had to have an epidural. Well, the nurse put in the order, and that was fine. And an hour went by, 2 hours went by, 3 hours went by. 3 hours went by on Pitocin, unmedicated, and it was awful. So finally, I had the urge to push. So they got me out of the tub, put me back on the bed, and I pushed as hard as I could, and my son was born. Now, I say all this not to be, like, contradictory of, like, oh, positive, the positive birth stories. But that was my first experience of childbirth. My labor stopping, enter Pitocin, extreme pain, no epidural. Like, the guy, I'm pretty sure the guy came in while I was pushing, and I was like, get out. Like, you're worthless, get out. And so I had an unmedicated birth with Pitocin for my first baby. And you would think that that would be traumatic, but it wasn't. Guys, it was so empowering. Like, if I can birth this child with this kind of pain, like, I can do anything. And so, again, it was really empowering, and it was such a beautiful moment after my son was born. I tore, but who cares? Like, your baby's born. There's that moment when your brain is just flooded with chemicals, and so you're just glad that your baby's out. We're talking 10 o'clock at night. Okay, my son's born. I had been in labor for like 18 hours almost. No food since like the day before, right? Because at 4 a.m. my water broke-ish. And so no breakfast, no lunch, no snacks. I mean, I had chicken broth, maybe. I think I had like a popsicle or two, but no food. So I just remember pushing and giving all of my energy. And like, again, we talked about the pain. Like, that's all I knew at that moment was I was scared. My body, I didn't know what to do with my body. It was tense. I was pushing weird ways because I was in pain and all of this stuff, and nobody was helping me to calm down. All they were telling me to do was just push, 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 push. Well, again, you know, if you're not familiar with like the way your body works during like delivery, you know, you have like, they say the ring of fire, right? Which is when your baby crowns and then everything kind of comes through. That muscle there, it's very tight. And if it's not exercised out and stretched, it rips and it tears. Hence the tearing. And so I was just pushing with all of my might, and I was just, man, I was getting this baby out because I was done with the pain and all this stuff. And so my son was born, you know, all things fine. But I just remember as they were weighing him and doing all of this stuff, I blacked out. Guys, I was done. My husband was very scared, and he was like shaking me, and I couldn't wake up. I was out. I was just done. And so I remember them breaking, I think it was an ammonia stick, and putting it under my nose, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And they were like, honey, you have to stay awake. You have to stay awake. Well, I couldn't. I'm sorry. I just had a baby with almost 24 hours of not eating. Like, so anyway, so I just remember, like, again, being scared that I was, like, blacking out, that my son was over. I mean, they were just doing, you know, the newborn screen and things like that, but it was just, it was new. Like, first of all, I had not been told that that could happen. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of this. I was just scared. My husband was scared. So finally, he had come back to me. We did skin to skin and all of that. And I was like, I really got to go to the bathroom. Like, I hadn't peed in a long time. And so we put him in the bassinet next to him. And I remember my husband helping me to the bathroom. And when I got on the toilet, I just remember passing out again. Like, my head, like, I just remember passing out against the wall. And he was screaming for a nurse. Like, he was just like, help, help, help. And they came in and they broke him another ammonia stick. Like, I remember this, but like, I wasn't lucid for it. Like, they put it under my nose and I wouldn't wake up. And they broke another one, and they started like hitting my cheek, and finally I was like, ugh, like what? And so they were like, when was the last time that she ate? And he was like, oh, like last night, like when we had dinner. And so they were like, you need to go get her some food. And so they helped me back to the bed. My husband called, I think it was, my husband called his family, and they brought food. I think it was a whole pizza, and I'm pretty sure I ate like half of it. Yeah. And so after that, I did feel a lot better. No other issues like that. But I do remember like not eating, and then passing out, and then blacking out, and then like not being able to wake up. And he said that was a very scary thing for him. So that's the story of how my son was born. And it sounds traumatic, but again, it was very empowering. And it led to some great lessons for our daughter. When we got pregnant for her, we knew kind of what to expect and things like that. It was a great experience for me, and it just really opened up my eyes to what my body is capable of. And I love childbirth, and I love the possibilities that can come from it, and just the empowering of yourself that you can do it. But I will see you guys in my next video for my daughter's birth story, and I will see you guys later. Bye!